Most dangerous people in your life will never arrive carrying a blade. They will arrive carrying comfort. They will study your wounds, offer you a shoulder to lean on, and speak to you with a level of warmth that feels almost miraculous. You open your heart because you believe you have finally met someone who understands your pain. But then, without warning, they pull the rug out from under you. They walk away, leaving you shattered, only to reappear weeks or months later with tearful eyes, theatrical apologies, and promises that they have changed. And what do? You let them back in. You tell yourself that everybody deserves a second chance, or perhaps a third or a fourth. Take them out of the background of your life and hand them back the steering wheel. Deep down, you already know how this story ends. Then a short time, same pattern unfolds. Same trust is broken, and you are left sitting in the ruins of your own foolishness, wondering why you keep hurting. Why does this loop repeat? Why do so many intelligent people fall for the exact same emotional deception over and over again? Modern psychology calls this the dynamic of love bombing and intermittent reinforcement. Someone bombards you with affection after harming you. Brain releases a surge of chemical relief. Acts like a drug. You are not actually addicted to the person. You are addicted to the sudden relief from pain their temporary return provides. Think of a hunter feeding grain to a wild bird. The hunter does not offer grain because he cares about the bird's hunger. He offers it to lower the bird's defenses so that when it steps closer, he can trap it. An emotional manipulator senses your vulnerability, loneliness, your financial stress. Use it as leverage. Offer quick support, build immediate trust. True trust is never built in 3 days. Real character is revealed over time through quiet consistency, not dramatic declarations. If you find yourself in a situation where everything feels unnaturally rushed, stop. Take a step back. The urge to rush is almost always a tactic designed to bypass your logical judgment before your brain can process the red flags. If someone walks up to you on the street and strikes you across the face, the law intervenes. There is physical evidence, a clear crime, and a system built to hold the attacker accountable. But if someone systematically dismantles your sense of reality, uses your deepest trust to exploit you, and leaves your mental health in ruins, there is no courtroom for your pain. There is no prison sentence for the person who engineered your psychological breakdown. This creates a tragic paradox in modern society. The person who inflicts the emotional damage walks away entirely unbothered, while the victim is left carrying the heavy financial, mental, and physical cost of recovery. Victims seek therapy, struggle with sleepless nights, and fight to rebuild their lives, while the perpetrator simply moves on to their next target without a second thought. Psychologically, emotional abuse causes the exact same neurological stress response as physical trauma. Your body does not distinguish between a physical threat and a profound emotional betrayal. Your nervous system floods with cortisol, your digestive system shuts down, and your mind enters a constant state of hypervigilance. You begin to walk on eggshells, constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop. You must recognize that waiting for the manipulator to realize what they did to you is a form of self-torture. You are expecting a person who operates without empathy to suddenly develop a conscience. It will not happen. They do not view their actions through the lens of morality. They view them through the lens of utility. They ask themselves, did it work? Did I get what I wanted? As long as you keep opening the door and offering them a platform to explain away their bad behavior, you are enabling the very system that is destroying your peace. Have you ever noticed how fast emotional manipulators try to push things forward? Whether it is a personal relationship, a business partnership, or a casual friendship, they always operate with an intense sense of urgency. They want to make big commitments immediately. They urge you to invest money, share your deepest secrets, or step into an exclusive arrangement before you have even had time to observe how they act under stress. Why the rush? Because manipulation has an expiration date. Flattery and false promises can only be sustained for so long before the real persona begins to leak through the cracks. If they can get you to commit quickly, you will feel bound by obligation long before you realize who they actually are. Every time you feel an internal sense of unease, that quiet voice in your gut warning you that something is off, your brain is picking up on subtle micro-behaviors that your conscious mind has not fully processed yet. But instead of listening to that intuition, you override it. You tell yourself not to be paranoid. You convince yourself that you are being overly critical. You ignore your instincts because you want to believe in the fairy tale they are selling you. Here is the cold truth. Forgiveness does not mean restoration of access. You can forgive someone from a distance for your own peace of mind without ever giving them a seat at your table again. Imagine you are driving a car and a passenger suddenly grabs the steering wheel and tries to crash the vehicle. You might forgive them for their panic, but you would be insane to hand them the keys and let them drive you home. Yet, that is precisely what you do every time you forgive a serial betrayer and restore them to their original place in your life. If you decide to forgive, fine, but move them from the front seat to the back seat. And if they prove unsafe there, move them out of the vehicle entirely. So how do you teach a manipulator a lesson they will never forget? How do you break the cycle of repeated disrespect? The answer is simple. It requires extraordinary discipline. You become entirely unreachable. Manipulators do not feed on your love, nor do they feed on your hatred. They feed on your attention. Whether you are crying, arguing, begging, or furiously confronting them, you are still giving them power. Your emotional reaction communicates one clear message. You still control my internal state. The moment you show intense anger, they know they still occupy space in your mind. The ultimate punishment for someone who took your presence for granted is your absolute, unwavering absence. Not a petty silence designed to draw a reaction, but a calm, permanent withdrawal of your energy. When they attempt to contact you with their usual routines, the sudden grand gestures, the desperate messages, the dramatic appeals to your sympathy, you do not engage. You do not argue. You do not explain yourself. Think about the psychological impact of this shift. For months or years, they relied on your predictable availability. They knew that no matter how poorly they treated you, a few sweet words or a fake display of remorse would buy their way back in. When you suddenly change the rules of the game and render their emotional tricks completely useless, their control evaporates. They are forced to confront the harsh reality of what they threw away. Genuine, trustworthy human being whom they can no longer reach or influence. This level of self-control requires an intense commitment to your own personal growth. You cannot sit around checking their social media profiles, monitoring their status, or asking mutual friends how they are doing. Every time you peek at their life, you are voluntarily reopening your own wound. You must cut the digital cord entirely, block the channels, remove the temptation to check up on them, and redirect every ounce of that wasted focus back into building your own character, your career, and your purpose. Look at how most people react when they feel unappreciated or ignored. They either overcompensate by giving double the effort, desperately trying to prove their worth, or they blow up in a fit of rage. Both reactions ruin your position. Overcompensating tells the other person that their neglect is working, while blowing up reveals that they hold complete power over your emotions. Neutrality breaks this entire dynamic. When you treat their presence with cool, calm composure, you eliminate their leverage. You do not show excitement when they enter the room, nor do you show visible resentment. You speak when spoken to, keeping your answers brief, polite, and strictly to the point. You offer zero free information about your personal life, your feelings, or your future plans. In psychological terms, human beings value what is scarce and take for granted what is abundant. When your availability, your kindness, and your time are handed out unconditionally to people who treat you poorly, those assets lose all perceived value. The moment you make your attention scarce, the balance of power shifts dramatically. Consider the Safety-Dopamine Paradox. Human psychology operates on a delicate balance between safety and unpredictability. If a person feels 100% certain that you will always be waiting for them, regardless of how they behave, their brain stops producing the dopamine associated with pursuit and appreciation. They become completely comfortable taking you for granted. But when you introduce healthy boundaries and make it clear that your presence is conditional on mutual respect, you disrupt their complacency. They are forced to recognize that your time is a privilege, not an entitlement. At the end of the day, no one is coming to save you. No video, no article, and no external advisor can physically walk into your life and enforce boundaries on your behalf. The strength to break free from toxic cycles must come from within your own mind. There is a profound ancient truth that states your life will not improve until you decide to take full responsibility for what you tolerate. If you allow people to treat you like an option, they will continue to do so. If you allow sweet talk to substitute for real measurable actions, you will continue to be deceived. You cannot control how other people choose to act, but you hold absolute authority over what you choose to accept in your space. Start building a life that is so deeply rooted in purpose, discipline, and self-respect that you no longer look to outside validation to feel complete. Focus on your health, your finances, your skills, and your personal goals. When your internal world is solid and structured, you will no longer be easily swayed by smooth words or cheap promises. You will see people for who they actually are through their actions, not through who you wish they would be. The next time a familiar face returns with the same old script, asking for another chance to occupy your time, remember the heavy cost you paid the last time you let your guard down. Do not argue. Do not make a dramatic scene. Simply close the door, turn around, and walk toward your own future with quiet, unshakable resolve. You have wasted enough time looking back at people who were only ever equipped to hold you back. It is time to step forward into the life you were meant to build.